Welcome, adventurers, to another round of Adventurerathon, and this time, you're gonna get wrecked. Hey everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish. I am the creator and the host of Adventurerathon, which is currently a bi-annually readathon where everyone has created a character. We've gone on a couple of adventures and we are now in this is our third full round of the readathon. I am assisted throughout this entire process by my co-host Jona. He's been with me since before I even started this adventure. He has been one of my booktube besties for about 4 years now and one of my actual besties for about 2. So, you know, please share the love and go support him and his channel because honestly, one of the best people out there. He's amazing. So thank you, Jona, as always, for assisting with this. Very quick note to newbies, if you are just watching my video for the first time, you're like, hey, what's all this about? You do not have to have taken part in any of the previous rounds in order to join in. Do keep watching or go to the timestamp below that is specifically for newbies and explaining what you can do to join if you haven't yet. But for those of you who already know of the Adventurerathon, welcome back. Very quick recap of our previous round. We had a very special spooky Halloweeny round with Adventurerathon. Some rounds you'll work as an individual, some rounds you will need to work collectively. Last round was definitely the latter. You had to work as a team and collect keys in order to unlock a very special dungeon. We had a week-long battle with the evil Lord Umbra, and at the very end of it you destroyed him. You released the kingdom from a curse they'd been under for many years, and they thanked you and sent you on your way with a ship that they'd procured to help you head over to your next destination. Now, this is where things don't quite go to plan. Unfortunately, whoever it was that was supposed to be checking the ship and making sure that everything was safe and everything was ready for you kind of got a little bit swept up in the celebrations that were happening after the curse was lifted, and may or may not have accidentally missed a couple of issues with the ship itself. Your first week passes without issue, but in the second week, this is where everything goes to shit. One night, giant storm system sweeps overhead. The boat is absolutely battered from all sides. Wind is howling, the waves are crashing against the ship, everything that hasn't been properly tied down is flinging around, until eventually the ship starts to break apart and everything just falls into absolute chaos. Thankfully, you have some pirates on board. Those individuals have enough skills that they were able to safely maneuver the ship to a nearby island that you could see in the distance. But checking the ship when the first light of day, you realise there is no way this thing is getting back on the ocean anytime soon. So now you have to pull all of your resources together, not only to try and repair the ship to get it back onto the sea, but also to keep each other safe, keep each other fed, warm, alive basically, on this random isolated island in the middle of nowhere. So that is what is happening this round. You are shipwrecked. So yes, like I said in the intro, you are wrecked. This round is going to very heavily be influenced by whatever character you chose to do. You will be working as a group overall to fix the ship, but there are also going to be things that are specific only to you. For those of you who are new to the readathon, this little bit is for you because you might need a little bit of information because obviously you don't know what I'm talking about with the characters. So way back when we started the readathon 2 years ago now, that's insane. We did 2 character building rounds. Each round I came up with 7 characters and all of the prompts were based around building this character. All of the information and all of the previous round, like those rounds, are in the G drive. So if any time, whether you want to do it in time for this readathon or you just want to have fun and build a character anytime you want, please do go check those out. But at the end of the second round, there were 14 characters. I don't have the brain capacity or the ability properly to balance doing rounds with 14 different things. So we did a poll to vote for the 7 most popular characters, and I said to everyone, if the characters that you have built so far are not any of those 7, you now just get to pick whichever one you want to do. But the 7 finalists were the Assassin, Hunter, Mage, Minstrel, Pirate, Seer and Sovereign. Any one of those, if that takes your fancy, choose from those 7 and that is it. That is your character. You don't need to do any pre-building unless you want to. As I said, the prompts are in the G Drive, so if you want to go check that out, feel free. Otherwise, you just pick from this list, and you will also have 500 gold as a little starter for your pouch, because obviously we've had a few rounds now to build up our gold reserves, and because we do have a merchant, there are magic items that you can purchase to help you along your journeys. But for now, all you need to know as a starter and as an introductory to the rounds, you just need to choose one of these 7 characters and add 500 gold into your coin pouches. We also do have a spreadsheet online so you can keep track of your money. It's called The Bank. It's in the Drive, so feel free to use that if you also want to help keep track of what you've spent and what you've accumulated. And yeah, that's all you need to know as a newbie to the Readathon. So now that you've picked that and you've got your money, you are ready for the next stage. So the next stage of our Readathon, exactly what is going on, how are things going to work, what are the rules, what are the prompts? I mean, you kind of want to know those. And also I do have a very small announcement in the form of a new addition to the Adventurerathon that's going to be something that affects every single adventure you have going forward. So as I said, you have found yourself now stranded as a group on this island, and you've got to try and survive as well as rebuild the ship. As you are all very different characters and you all have unique skills and abilities, you will all have a role to play in your, and as with I think both our previous rounds, you must complete this prompt before you do anything else. For each of the characters there are 3 prompts. There's a main prompt and an optional prompt. Your main prompt you must do, the optional prompt, as it says, is optional, and there is also a non-reading prompt because, as you know, every round I try to include some sort of non-reading activity for you to do, and again that one is completely optional, but you do have to do the main prompt. So if you are an assassin, your main prompt and your primary goal, so you must do this before you do any of the other prompts, is you're in charge of defending the camp. You're going to be putting your skills to use to, you know, just watch over everyone, set up some defenses, and that is to read a book that has a defensive word in the title. It is kind of up to you how you want to interpret this. It always is with my prompts. But just some examples of these kind of words. We've got guard, we've got protect, we've got shield. Things like that will all count. Or if you go through every single one of your books and you're like, nothing I have fits this prompt and I cannot get this prompt to work for me, your alternate prompt for this, not everyone will have an alternate prompt, but some will if they're a bit more difficult, but your kind of backup option for this is to read a book that has a defense as part of the plot. So it could be that, you know, it's a bodyguard trope. It could be someone who's in the Crown's Guard and protects the king. Even things like a babysitter, because really you are protecting children, you're taking care of them. So anything with those kind of roles or tropes, any of those kind of themes or tropes or anything like that where someone is being defended or protected will count. The optional prompt is to take on an extra night patrol, and that is to read a book with the word shadow, with shadow or night in the title. And then for your non-reading prompt, your role within the camp is obviously creating a place of safety and making sure that everyone feels safe and protected. So share with us on the Discord or on your Instagram. Make sure that you use hashtag Adventurerathon so that we know. Share with us an image of somewhere that gives you that sense of safety. It could be your room or your bed, if that's like, if you've made yourself a little cozy nest. It could be your favourite tree where you like to sit and read. It could be a greenhouse, anywhere where you feel brings you a sense of comfort and safety and warmth, share it with us if you are comfortable doing so. Otherwise, you can just tell us about it. Those are your assassin prompts. If you are a hunter, your role is to make sure people have got food, and you'll be doing using a lot of your tracking skills and trapping skills and, you know, those kind of skills that are very typical for a hunter. Your main reading prompt is foraging for food. And what you have to do for this prompt is to read a book that has poisonous plant or food on the cover. Because quite often when we end up in a new environment that we don't know, it can be very difficult to find food that we know is safe to eat, certainly with things like mushrooms or berries. If you don't know what you're doing, it is very easy to end up accidentally poisoning yourself. But as a hunter, you are very skilled at finding those things and recognizing what is and is not safe to eat. The optional extra prompt for your hunters is to lay traps, which is a book that has anything to do with hunting. So it could be that a main character is a hunter, it could be that there's a bow and arrow on the cover, it could be that the theme is that someone's being hunted. It doesn't have to necessarily be actively showing someone going hunting, but as long as there is a thing that you can say this relates to hunting in any kind of way, you can include it. And then your non-reading prompt, this one's just a bit of fun, and that is to go out and about on a walk and take photographs of between 5 and 10 things that you believe would be edible. So if you see some berries and you think, oh, they look edible, take a photo. Then come home and identify those plants and check to see if you actually were right. Were they all completely safe to eat? Would you have accidentally poisoned yourself? Or even worse, would you have... I totally did not decide to make this a thing because it is something I myself have ever done. Ever. Never at all have I accidentally eaten something, given myself horrendous stomach pain and nearly went to hospital. So be careful out there, and please do not actually eat the things that you are taking photos of unless you know 1000% they are safe, because I do not want anyone accidentally poisoning themselves for real life. Okay? Please be careful. So those are your hunting prompts. The mages, you are going to be tapping into your elemental magic for this one. For your main prompt, so like I said, the one you have to do, you will be tasked with keeping everybody warm and providing a fire. So this is to read a book that has flame or fire on the cover or in the title. Your optional prompt, you will be purifying the water to make sure that it is safe for everyone to drink. And so this is to read a book where water is an important part of the plot. Things like having water on the cover doesn't count unless that water reference is prevalent to the plot. So if it's just a book that has rain on the cover but there's nothing to do with rain in the book, doesn't count. But things like the magic is centered around water. It could be that this whole book is set on a lake in the ocean and it's underwater. Like the water is cursed, there's been a flood, all of those kind of things. As long as water plays a pivotal part of the story, that all counts. And your non-reading prompt is cooking. A lot of wizards, when you make potions, it's a lot of ingredients, so potions and cooking go kind of very similarly together, so you'll probably be better at utilizing those skills in that way. So cook a new recipe and share it with everyone either on Discord or social media. If you are a minstrel, aka a bard, at first you might feel, well, I don't really have any skills that are relevant towards people's survival. But this is where I am here to tell you that you are wrong, and that one of the biggest things that people need to survive is hope and to be uplifted and stay positive. So you are essentially going to be the camp cheerleader. You are in charge with keeping the morale of the camp up. So that is to read a book that has a happy or feel-good word in the title. It could even just have the word happy. Anything that is a word that is associated with something joyful and positive and good will count. Your optional extra, as I said, you are technically you're a camp. You are making camp. So it's kind of probably already obvious. Your prompt for the optional one is to read a book that's set at a camp. So either a summer camp setting, the characters might go camping at some point in the book. It doesn't have to be the main prompt, the main thing. but as long as somewhere in this book there is like a summer camp or a camp setting, or they make camp, anything like that, and your non-reading prompt is camping. I'm not saying you have to go out and you have to go camping and sleep overnight. If you want to, you absolutely can. But if you are familiar at all with, like, specifically I've seen it in Korea and on a lot of Korean dramas, they say they're going camping and then they'll go out to a campsite, just stay there for the day, and then they return home that same night. They don't do the sleepover bit. So you could set up your own camp somewhere, like in your living room if you don't want to go out or you are unable to go out and about. Anything like that, as long as you spend the day kind of, you know, getting into the spirit of camping and read while you're there. But again, the challenge is to share it, show your campsite, or just tell us about what you read and what you did. Next on to the pirates. Now, obviously, you are the ones that know about boats. You are the ones that know about ships. So you will be in charge of making sure that the boat repairs go well. For your main prompt, you are to read a book that has something broken on the cover. So it could be, you know, like a broken sword, the word broken, anything that looks broken in some way, shape or form. This one is quite open to interpretation because, like, when I was looking at the recommendations, there was a character that I really like and I was like, well, that person's broken, that counts. So anything that counts towards being broken on the cover. And then your optional extra is, why is the rum gone? Because during this storm you lost a lot of your supplies. So why is the rum gone? And the prompt is to read a book where something is running out. So it could be that time is running out, resources are running out, magic is running out, money, anything with that kind of theme. And then your non-reading prompt is to write a list of 3 things you know you've been putting off and you know that you've been struggling to get done. Don't have to complete all 3. You don't even have to complete 1. Try to make progress on at least one of them and share with us what that progress is and what you choose to do. If you chose to be a seer and my character is actually a seer, this one actually did give me a bit of a nightmare because I was like, what on earth would a seer be really good for? And then all of a sudden I was like, weather forecasting. You're going to be in charge of, you know, scrying each morning to ascertain how the weather is going to go. So for your main prompt, it is to read a book that has either rain or the sun on the cover. Your optional extra, because you are trapped on this island, because you have been struggling and you don't know how long you're going to be here, the future remains a little bit blurry at the minute. So the prompt name is The Future is Hidden to Me, and the actual prompt is a book where things appear to be very bleak at the start. The world might be falling apart, there might be a plague, it might be that you've just lost that the main character just lost their job or is going through a breakup. But you know, the start of the book, things don't seem all that great. It doesn't matter if the book ends on a bleak note or not. That's completely up to you, but certainly it has to start where things are just not looking great for the main character or characters. And then your non-reading prompt, it's a little bit of a thinking about the future one. It is to create a 5-year plan. And this is basically just a thing that a lot of people do, where it's just looking ahead to the next 5 years and thinking about, where do I want to be? Do I have any goals that I want to achieve? Do I have any career choices I want to make? All of these kind of things. If 5 years is a bit overwhelming, drop it down to whatever is good for you, even if it's just do a plan for today. I just went with a 5-year plan because that's kind of the standard and that's usually what people would go for. I myself will probably be doing like a 1-year plan because I just want to think about where do I want to be by the end of next year. But whatever time frame feels comfortable for you. It doesn't even have to be the big things. It doesn't have to be about work. It doesn't have to be about relationships. It can just be about a hobby. 6-month plan. I want to create a piece of art on a canvas. And if you are willing to share your plan with us, please do share your plan. And then finally we have our sovereigns. These guys probably don't have the best skill set for survival and probably don't really know how to repair a ship. However, they do have some skills that really do help. They have a way of being able to bring people together and to actually organize things. So your main prompt is task delegation, and that is to read a book that features a boss or a leader, preferably the main character, but it doesn't have to be. As long as that character is quite prominent in the story, you are golden. The optional extra is the prompt too many chiefs. If you've got a whole bunch of sovereigns, they're going to probably get into a bit of conflict and they're probably going to disagree with each other, and it could cause a bit of tension. So this is to read a book where there is an uprising or a social movement. I've got written down on my document, I've got, for example, the suffragettes, overthrowing a corrupt king, getting a really shitty boss fired, anything with that kind of theme of getting rid of the bad guy in whatever form, or doing things to help societal reform. Anything with those kind of themes counts. And then your non-reading prompt is to find out a little bit about your local history. Did you have any famous leaders, or have there been any big social movements or any big sort of real events that have happened that either changed your country or maybe even just your town? But anything with that kind of theme or idea, have a look and share with us some stuff about your local area. So those are the character prompts, but we also have an extra challenge because as a collective you also need to gather the supplies to fix the ship. There are 5 materials that you are going to need to gather on this island. Please just suspend your disbelief a little bit, because realistically, where are you going to find it on an abandoned island? Is it going to actually be there? We're just going to imagine that we find them. So once you have read your character prompt, you can then go on to the shipbuilding prompts. There are no double ups allowed, don't forget, that is a standard rule across this entire round. No double ups are allowed, but you can read as many books as you like for each of these. You just can't read the same book and count it for 3 different materials. But the materials are lumber, iron fittings, canvas, rope and pitch. For lumber, it's to read a book with at least 1 tree on the cover. Iron fittings is metal in the title. Canvas is a book with clothing on the cover. Rope is a bond in the title, so this can be like wife, sister, brother, best friend, soulmate, anything like that, as long as there is like a bond or a relationship on the cover. And then pitch is a predominantly black cover. Similarly to our last round, there will be different amounts that you have to collect, so you'll probably need a lot more lumber than you will need pitch. So do bear that in mind when you're planning, but like I said, you can read as many of these. So you could read 5 books for lumber and then not choose to do any others. It's completely up to you. There will be a form for you to submit when you've done it so I can keep track. That's basically what you're all going to be doing. You're going to be looking after the camp, setting everything up, keeping everyone safe, but also collecting these materials. You may be wondering about the merchant and how, if we are on an abandoned island, how can we purchase items? Well, you can't. I am allowing everyone from now, when this video goes live, from the moment this video goes live until 11:59 p.m. on April the 30th, you are allowed to access the merchant's items. So if you've got gold saved and you want to spend it, but you've got what, 2 weeks pretty much, give or take, to purchase anything that you would like to prepare before going on this adventure. It also allows anyone that is new to use some of that gold that I've given you earlier on in the video. That gives you the opportunity to use that, because one of the absolute biggest rules is there are no swaps. Once you have decided on your TBR, that TBR is locked in. Because we have the item that allows you, the deck of Handslate that allows you to swap books once you've chosen for a prompt. Because the merchant won't be available throughout this round, I will allow 3 swaps throughout the month, so keep hold of those, use them wisely. So I would advise either in the next 2 weeks buy a couple just so you've got a couple on hand, or just be very, very strict on what you decide to read and know that you are going to read them, so you don't end up like me and end up with a TBR you know you're not going to win. In this round, the merchant kind of moves around on different planes and can't unfortunately bring things with them. They can, you know, if we're in a place that has a set building or a set shop, he can appear there and use it, but somewhere like this, he's unable to properly access. However, he can kind of arrive in like this non-corporeal type form. And one thing that can be done for those of you who are looking for an extra reading challenge, because I know some of you are absolute fiends when it comes to reading, and you blast through everything in like the first week. If you are looking for that extra reading challenge, because this year I'm not doing any extras like where I've done bingo boards and things like that in the past, this is the optional extra challenge, and that is that you can't purchase any merchant items, but you can create them for yourself. And the way that you're going to do that is similarly to gathering the materials for the ship. If you can gather the materials for the individual items, and then you do still have to pay some gold, but it is far more reduced than it usually would be. I can't remember exactly what the prices are, but something that would normally cost 2,000 gold might only cost 750 or 1,000 gold this time round, but you will have to read some prompts to go with it. So if there is a magic item that you are interested in claiming for yourself, and you know you've got a little bit of gold saved up, you can always go to the merchant and request an ingredients list, and the merchant will tell you what you need to gather for those items. I'm not going to go through every single item and what you will need here. I might do a little separate video through the month if you would like it. Please do let me know in the comments. But otherwise it will just be, we've got pre-made cards, and when you go to the merchant in the Discord or on Instagram, you can send us a DM. But you go to the merchant and you just say, hey, I want this, and he will give you what you need to collect. And then, you know, you gather the materials, give him the money, he will craft that item, and you are golden and ready to go. Similarly to our last round, there are also going to be some events that are happening throughout the month. I'm not going to go into full detail of what they're about because you'll find out through the month. Again, I will post a video on Discord with the instructions and everything. But I will say that there is going to be a 24-hour event. So there will be a 3-day sort of weekend event, and then there's going to be sort of probably in the middle of the month, there'll be something that happens that will take place over a week. And you have a week to overcome that obstacle to continue your adventure. So while you're gathering materials, just be aware that there could be stuff happening that might affect how many materials you have. And then the final thing that I think I need to talk about for this round is the new mechanic that I'm bringing in that I said is going to impact every single round going forward, and that is character enhancement points. Similarly with a lot of games and a lot of adventure type things like this and like D&D, as you go on your adventures, there might be certain skills or certain pieces of equipment that you want that you can only gather specifically for your character, and quite often got to collect points to enhance the skill. And in this system, we're going to go with points. So from now on, when an adventure has prompts that are to do with your specific character, you can earn those enhancement points. And then in other adventures, there will be places you can go where you can trade in those points for extra boosts. Like there might be some little specific skills that will give you boosts in future rounds. You won't be getting any of those kind of boosts and skills this round, but this is the round where we're going to introduce these enhancement points. For your reading prompts, the mandatory one that you have to do will earn you 100 points. So basically by the end of this readathon, everyone should have 100 character enhancement points. If you do your optional prompt, then you gain 50 points. And then with your non-reading prompt, if you do it and choose not to share it, you will earn 50 points just for doing it. But if you do share it on social media or on the Discord, please do make sure that you tag either me, Jona, or Adventurerathon in the post or on your story or wherever you share it. Do make sure that our attention is on it, and you will earn another 50 points. So basically by the end of this round, you could earn yourself up to 300 character enhancement points, and then the repercussions of that will become more apparent in the next round. It's just a little extra thing to add a bit of flavour and give you, those of you who want a little bit more from the readathon can get that little bit more. Anyway, that is everything that you need to know for this round. That is all of the prompts. I will be back soon with the recommendations video that I always do, where I give some ideas of books you could read that would fit all of these prompts. So keep an eye out in the next sort of week to 10 days for that video to come out. But in the meantime, as always, if you've got any questions, please do ask either down below or on the Discord. All of the links are going to be below. Jona is our social media manager. He's brilliant at answering questions, but just make sure to double check things and that you only ask if you know someone else hasn't. Please also do use the search button in Discord just to make sure that people haven't already asked the questions that you are asking. This round stuff will be updated in the next few days. So if you go on the drive and this round, which will say round 3, that's not yet up, please do give me a couple of days. I am still sorting everything out, but everything you need to know should be here. And like I said, just ask us on Discord or in the comments if you have anything else. Thank you so much for watching this. Obviously, if I have missed anything, please do let me know. Let me know in the comments if you do plan on joining us. Is this your first time joining us, or are you a veteran adventurer and you're just ready for the next round and love all the new updates? In the meantime, I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you on the next adventure. Bye.